Hello everybody, this is Con. Now, when we talk about Subaru, okay, most of what comes to mind is all-wheel drive, is boxer engine. Then, of course, the enthusiasts among us will remember the Imprezas, the WRX, and all these, rally glory. And you may even recall some wonderful cars, okay, like the Legacy, the Forester. Okay, before that, okay, let's go back a bit further before that. Say 7 years ago, 8 years ago, the Subaru brand awareness amongst Malaysians is pretty good. Okay, Subaru enjoys good brand awareness, but presence of the brand is extremely low. Okay, so the number of Subaru cars on the road are extremely low. Okay, it wasn't until the XV, okay, the original Subaru XV debuted as a CKD model in Malaysia that Subaru numbers on Malaysian roads finally began to pick up. Okay, now the XV, okay, is another one of those crossover type vehicles. Okay, it is built on a raised Impreza platform. In fact, the cabin and the body panels are shared from the Impreza. Okay, it's just that the car sits higher off the road, higher ground clearance, and you have all the side, those gray body claddings to make it look like an SUV. Okay, now comes the second generation Forester the second generation XV that I'm driving here today. This is an all-new XV built on an all-new platform. You may not guess it from the way it looks, but this is entirely new, built on Subaru's new global platform. Okay, and in Malaysia, okay, as standard, this car comes with a 2-liter boxer engine. It's not a carryover from the previous model. Okay, this engine is new. It's aluminum, and it has direct injection. Right, outputs 156 PS, 196 Newton meters of torque. Okay, so the XV comes with a choice of two grades. Okay, there's the 2.0i and there's also 2.0i Premium. Price difference is thereabouts of 8,000 ringgit between the two, and for the money, the 2.0i Premium gives you LED headlights, gives you dual zone climate control. Okay, now the LED headlights also comes with self-leveling and steering response headlights. Now basically that's Subaru's way of calling active cornering lamps. So when you turn the steering wheel, the light follows to turn. Okay, now but mechanically speaking, the two cars are identical. In fact, from the outside, they are practically impossible to differentiate. Okay, now, but regardless which of the two you choose, the base equipment level is actually pretty decent. You get electronic stability control as standard. You get keyless entry as standard. You get 6 airbags as standard. You get you get this touchscreen here as standard. Okay, so it gives you it starts from a good base point, and the premium spec adds on LED headlamps for a not unreasonable sum of money. Okay, so to continue this review, we shall move on to the exterior walkabout. Now, from the outside, this hardly looks like an all-new XV. The overall silhouette is very similar to that of its predecessor. Okay, the product concept of this car is in fact still very similar to the previous model, in that it is a raised Impreza. Okay, if you compare this car to the Impreza, some of the body panels are the same, but the car sits higher off the ground, 90 millimeters higher off the ground. This car has a 220 millimeter ground clearance. The standard Impreza passenger car, which is not sold in Malaysia, has 130 millimeters of ground clearance. Now, our test car comes with a very dark shade. It doesn't bring out the contrast of the dark colored body cladding, but if you come up close, okay, you will see that along the sides of the vehicle there are all these dark, like sort of like SUV body claddings that give the XV a more tough appearance. Okay, from the front here. Now, in case you are wondering, I did not take this car off road. Yeah, this was just some puddles of water. It has been a raining few days. Okay, now one way to definitively tell this car from this is the 2.0i Premium model. There's a base 2.0i.
the 2.0i premium model, the only differentiating touch from the outside, okay, are these LED headlamps which have self-leveling. These are the DRLs, and you have headlight washers. Yeah. So rest of the car's external appearances is the same, whether you choose the 2.0i or the 2.0i premium. Okay, down here you see 17-inch alloy wheels, very conservatively sized, but it is to the benefit of ride comfort. Okay, you have keyless entry. Come to the back. Here's a variant badge that says this is the premium model, but otherwise this is between the premium model and the base model, the two cars look largely identical. Okay, now from the back you see a greater differentiation in styling from the predecessor model. The tail lights, okay, it's wider, so it gives greater emphasis to the XV's body width. Okay, so let's look at the boot. Electric release, but no powered opening. Okay, there are gas strut hinges here. Boot space, overall volume is a bit on the small side, rated at 310 liters. Okay, under the floor is the spare tire. Seats split open 60-40, but there is no release latch either side here. Okay, no release latch. You have to fold it down from the boot. You have to pull this and push it down. Okay, there's of course this retractable tonneau cover, and so with the seats folded down, okay, seats folded down, according to specs that we've got from Subaru Australia, with both sides of the seats folded down, you get about 785 liters of boot space. So it's not the biggest when it comes to cargo volume, but certainly when if you've come from, say, a hatchback, there is enough there's enough cargo room for you, for a small family getaway or your weekly groceries trip. So I'm holding the key fob here. Okay, I'm walking toward the car. As the key fob approaches the door handle, you notice that the cabin lights actually switch on by themselves. So stepping inside the XV's cabin, okay, first differentiator that you will notice is that the premium spec model has aluminium pedals. Then the rest of the interior upholstery is fabric as standard. There's no leather option available at present. Engine start-stop button. SRH. SRH is steering response headlight. So this is Subaru speak for saying active headlights, active cornering headlamps. When you turn the steering, the headlights turn along with it. Okay, so this is the option for you to switch it off. The rheostat dimmer, and also the stability control off switch. Okay, so come inside. Another feature unique to the premium model is the auto wipers. Okay, so the wipers are auto in the premium model. Okay, and also lastly, the final differentiating feature for the premium model are the dual zone auto climate control system. So let's look at the steering mounted controls. This cluster is the cruise control operation, audio, okay, Bluetooth, phone, and this one controls the this one controls the multi-function display, info display. Okay, let me show you the instrument cluster. So this is a very basic looking instrument cluster. Okay, scroll through the various available screens. Shows you average fuel consumption, okay, digital speedometer, trip computer, and so on. Yeah, so this is very basic, but the color of it looks very vibrant. It's a sharp enough display. Yeah, just about good enough for present day standards. Okay, so move over to the other side. Okay, on top of the dashboard, okay, right here is a screen that shows you is a secondary screen, okay, which you control through this button here, okay, on the steering wheel. Okay, so when I press this button, it allows me to cycle through various displays. This is a very cool screen that shows you pitch and yaw, as well as your steering angle and also your drive. Okay, let's move down, have a look at the infotainment system. So here's the infotainment. Press OK. Go to the home screen now. As you can see, this is not one of the slickest looking infotainment setups that you would see in the market. Okay, I mean the graphic quality feels like it really comes from an accessory shop. So here are the climate control switches. Now this is once again a very basic system. It's a basic dual zone climate control system. But that being said, I have to commend Subaru. The tactile feel of these switches are very, very good. It feels very, very solid. Yeah, as you can see, the switches, all the various switch gears operate with very, very good tactile feedback and feel. Okay, so let's look at the center console. This is a very simple, very basic looking center console. Okay, I mean, ahead of the gear lever here, you can see that there's a storage bin with a 12-volt socket. Okay, 12-volt socket, HDMI port, USB port, auxiliary port. Okay, and electronic parking brake. Okay, this is Subaru X mode. This switch gives you access to Subaru X mode. Now, what is X mode? X mode is Subaru's way of giving the XV a bit more off-road capability. Okay, it's not full-fledged off-roading. What this does is that X mode ties in with your engine, transmission, and electronic stability control operations to enable the car to tackle rough and slippery terrain a bit more effectively. Okay, so X mode works at only very, very low speeds, and it's only meant to be used in severe terrain. Okay, so center console box, it's deep. Okay, it's deep, it's usefully sized, and it contains two USB power charging ports as well as a 12-volt socket. Here's a look at the glove box. Inside all these are the owner's manuals and whatnot. So after you put all these stacks of documents, there isn't much space left. Okay, but it's still a usefully sized glove box. So if you can find a way to store all these owner's manuals and service booklets elsewhere, then yeah, this is a usefully large this is a usefully sized glove box. Now, a little comment on quality. The XV's dashboard feels very solidly built. So typical of Subaru, right? They don't have a lot of money to spend on giving you very, very fancy items. But one thing Subaru does know is that they do know how to make their cars well, and they do know how to make their cars tough. So like you see all these bits of plastics, right? They are actually very, very good quality, right? Like this top piece here. This is soft touch plastic. At the side here, okay, as you notice at the side. So this is soft touch plastic. This piece here is a slightly harder, but it's still a very pleasant to touch grade of plastic. And as you notice overall, the overall fit and finish, okay, the consistency of the gaps between panels are actually very, very good. Okay, you see, check this stitching out. Okay, so I mean, this is overall very well constructed cabin. There's a very good mix of the material usage is not plush, but it feels solid enough. It feels robust enough to last for usage. The only criticism that I have, okay, is that if you notice that as you compare the front door, okay, okay, there's this this shiny plastic carbon trim, okay, and it contrasts with these silver linings, okay, this matte metallic like linings. Then when you go to the back, the rear door, you go to the rear door, right, the carbon trim, right, now is no longer shining. Now it's the matte grade carbon trim. So it's not really a big deal. It's not a deal breaker, but this mismatch between the front and rear door cards, it sort of, it reduces the value appearance of the car. Not by much, but it caught my eye lah. Alright, so let's come to the back seat before we hop on board. Let's look at the door pocket. Okay, this is also another bottle holding slot, and yeah, so it's a very short door pocket, just enough to keep a few small items. Okay, now I'm seated inside. Legroom is decent. Okay, with the driver's seat adjusted to my preferred position. Okay, I have I have this much of leg room available. Okay, headroom also is pretty alright. I have, I have this much of excess room available. Okay, here there is a fold down armrest, okay, with two built-in cup holders. And the seat pockets, there's only one seat pocket with the at the front passenger seat. Okay, evidently Subaru probably thinks, okay, we're only providing one side because when the driver comes on board, he'll only be able to reach the rear, the passenger seat. But the driver's side seat, you can put a pocket too for other people to use also. So I don't see why that extra pocket couldn't be provided. But I think the biggest omission, okay, the biggest omission at the rear section of the cabin actually is the absence of rear air con vents. Okay, in our climate, I think that sort of damages the XV's case, to be honest with you. And giving my personal opinion, not as a motoring reviewer, but as a family man with a wife and kid, right? Aircon vents, okay, especially at this price range, above 100k, right, even below 100k for the matter, rear aircon vents have become a purchasing decision for me. In fact, I just had this conversation with my wife that our next car will definitely have rear aircon vents, because on a hot day, right, with my kid strapped in the chassis at the back, right, without rear aircon vents, it will take a much longer time for the rear section of the cabin to cool down. So like most SUVs and hatchbacks, the XV needs to come with 3-point seat belts for all rear passengers, and they need to be creative in the way they do it, okay, because Subaru also needs to accommodate this the split folding rear seats as well. So the solution employed for the XV is, so the belt, you pull the belt out from the base of the C pillar, okay, and you run it through this holder here, and this buckle, this secondary buckle, goes into here, and you buckle it like a normal 3-point belt. So there are isofix mounts here, okay, hidden behind these straps. So you pull this strap out, okay, to free out the isofix mounts. There you can see the isofix mounts here. Now, this has the advantage of giving the isofix mounts a nice and neat, it has given them a neat appearance. But I do question the wisdom of using Walco to strap it back, because it's not easy, to you actually have to lift this up and slid the Walco back in to close it. Now, as mentioned earlier, the XV is powered by a 2-liter Boxer 4 engine. Okay, it's not carried over from the predecessor. This engine is new, it's aluminum, it's direct injected. So outputs are also slightly higher than before. So this car, okay, to drive. Now, Subaru cars overall, right, to drive, there has always been a high degree of mechanical refinement to the car, okay, and this we can very well attribute to the natural characteristics of the Boxer engine, because the Boxer engine naturally is well balanced and it is free from vibrations. Okay, I mean, not to say free from vibrations, but very low vibration characteristics. Okay, so as you drive this car, right, as you move along, right, you will notice that the engine builds up its revs very smoothly, in a creamy, it's almost a creamy sort of smoothness, that perhaps is comparable to that of an inline 6 engine in some ways. Okay, now don't be don't for a moment set
your expectations for this to be a WRX SUV, okay? It may be based on an Impreza, but it is nothing. Your expectations should be nothing of that sort. This car is primarily smooth, refined, okay? But at the same time, it is also well balanced. The handling is very well balanced, because once again we come back to the advantages of the Boxer engine. It is flat, so it sits low in with respect to the car's height, and as a result the car has very good roll stability, because the center of gravity of this car is lower, right? So when you flung it around corners, right, the car feels that much more stable and and predictable in its movements, right? So with that, right, with that natural balance in its chassis, right, the car does not have to be harshly sprung in order to handle well, okay? And that means that for a car that handles this well, right, the comfort levels is beyond what you expect. Okay, let's say when you roll this car over a manhole cover or a pothole, right, the suspension absorbs all the imperfections brilliantly. It absorbs brilliantly. So the right comfort is almost as good as that of a luxury car. Okay, now these days, right, a 2-liter engine with a CVT isn't what anybody would consider as exciting performance by any stretch of the imagination. But the good thing about the XV is that it really makes the most out of what it has. The CVT, in general, CVTs are not the most exciting type of transmissions to drive, but where the XV is concerned, the CVT's calibration really makes the most out of what's provided by the engine. Okay, so when you go on part throttle acceleration or full throttle acceleration, once the engine climbs to its that peak torque zone, right, the transmission actually tries to keep the engine in that peak torque zone and enables you to accelerate it accelerates seamlessly and relentlessly. Okay, that's the best way I can put it. It accelerates seamlessly and relentlessly, so you don't get that, but at the same time it pulls it pulls like a train. It almost pulls like a train. So when the engine just holds at that rest and you feel the torque just pulling you along, it is a very smooth yet very relentless kind of acceleration. Yeah, so where performance is concerned, the XV is definitely right up there with with all the other 2-liter SUVs in the market. It's just slightly sprightlier. Okay, so this is where you set your expectations of the straight line performance of a 2-liter crossover or SUV. The XV is probably just a bit more, so it has that a bit more sprightliness and overall balance to it. And definitely, right, if you are the kind of driver that you value a good enjoyable drive, right, there alone, right, the XV is something that you definitely should consider, because this car is very, very well set up. It feels like there's still a very mechanical feel to this car that you increasingly don't get with newer generation of cars. Yeah, I mean, Subaru is a company that is operating on very limited resources, so Subaru has learned to make the most of what they have. Okay, which is why, like, when you sit inside the XV, you don't find a lot of fancy touches, but what you can be assured of is this: you can be assured that when it comes to the things, the bits that move the car, right, Subaru is giving you the absolute best of what it's got. Okay, so to sum up, right, the XV, to drive, it's brilliant. Okay, I really enjoy the way the XV drives. It is not particularly sporty, yes, I'll admit, but it drives competently. The what you call it, the compromise between, you know, handling sharpness and ride comfort. Subaru got it pretty spot on with this car. You know, it has that it has good comfort that, you know, this is a car that you can use on a day-to-day basis, but at the same time, right, the chassis is sufficiently sharp that, you know, if you are an enthusiast driver, that, you know, you have moved on from a sports car, you have moved on to crossovers, to SUVs, right? This is not a bad place to be in. Okay, granted, there are some compromises. Okay, like for example, if you're considering a family car, considering this as a family car, the lack of rear aircon vents to me is a bit of an issue. Okay, so if you are someone who prioritizes, you know, what goes on underneath the car, what goes on, you know, in the bits that move the car, the bits that you cannot see but you can feel every time, you know, you drive the car, you get behind the wheel, the XV really you know, satisfies you in that kind of respect. So that concludes it for this video. Drop me a line in the comment section to let me know what you think, or if there's any point that you feel that I have left out, feel free to comment, because I'm trying to keep this video keep all these videos within an, you know, a watchable length. So there are some aspects that, you know, that cannot be covered in, you know, in a 15-minute or 20-minute video, but the beauty of the internet and YouTube is that us car reviewers, right, now we can interact with the audience more personally. So, you know, if there are certain things that, you know, you feel that I have left out in this video, yeah, just drop me a question in the comment section. I'll answer them as to the best of my ability and as fast as I can lah. Okay, so thanks for watching. Bye for now. Hey bro. Huh? Hello. Hello. I go pick up. Okay. Yeah, okay.